So if there's any reason, again, for anyone that wants to possibly leave the state of Connecticut, a Democrat is seeking a national soda tax.
I don't know that's going to change the where you live though, because this is just because this representative from Connecticut happens to be from Connecticut doesn't matter whether they're Connecticut or Georgia. They're going to put it on all of us.
No, that's true. And this is actually a funny story because a couple of us went out to eat the other night, and some of us were complaining about how high the soda and the iced tea and whatever beverages
Isn't it
were.
crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when a fountain drink was like 85 cents. You got a fountain drink for 85 cents, but now when you go out, you get unlimited refills, but it's $2.50.
Yeah, $2.50.
Have you noticed that a lot of places aren't giving the free refills anymore, and they're being sneaky about it too? Some places you go in and it's just you order a drink and the drink is like $2.50, and yet they're still not giving you free refills.
No, I haven't had that happen to me. I think I would be outraged.
But the most frustrating part about that is that they don't tell you that they don't have free refills. They just keep filling, and before you know it, you've got 5 charges of $2.50 on your bill.
This isn't a margarita. You can't do that.
No, this is just like plain soda or iced tea or something. But anyway, to get into the story, so Representative Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut is seeking a national soda tax.
Oh, Connecticut. What a surprise.
That's what I was saying, Connecticut. Another reason to leave
state?
Connecticut.
Yeah.
Johnson?
Connecticut and New York are kind of like the fascist hubs of the United States.
Communist New York. Okay, so anyway, seeking a national soda tax, an effort backed by leaders of the movement to ban smoking indoors and others who call carbonated beverages toxic.
Well, I mean, I think that it would be difficult to argue that that sugar isn't, especially in excess, isn't poisonous. I mean, it's terrible for us, but I don't think that anyone else needs to make that decision but you and I, right?
Oh, I
Alcohol's
agree.
also a toxin.
Indeed it is.
But then again, they are taxing that already, so that's not necessarily the best argument. But
The only way they was able to pull that off, the tax, though, is because of prohibition.
Right.
Because they were able to prohibit it, then when they brought it back, they could bring it back with this large tax.
Right.
So with that being said, how many teaspoons of sweetener in soda or energy drinks do you folks think that are in, say, a average soda can?
What is it, like 18, 22, something like that?
It can't be that much.
Yeah.
A can of Coke is about 180 calories. I would guess a teaspoon of sugar is probably about 50 calories. So I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.
Okay. They want to impose a 1 cent excise tax per teaspoon of caloric sweetener in soda, energy drinks, sports drinks, and sweet teas. So
that means that Diet Coke is cool because there's no sweetener in it.
Oh, there's still sweetener in
Okay,
Diet Coke.
A 12-ounce can of regular Coke contains 39 grams of total sugar, which is about 9 1/3 teaspoons of sugar.
Holy
I was
macaroni.
closer than you.
So depending on the size of the soda, you could be looking at anywhere from 10 cents to 20 cents, even more.
Okay, that's a sizable tax.
Yeah.
And this is another situation probably where you're going to hit the poor harder than you hit the rich. I would guess
Absolutely.
that you're talking about rich people be more likely to carry around their bottles of purified water from some foreign country, and that poor people are more likely to drink sodas.
It's also going to be interesting because it's going to shift people over to diet, maybe shift some people over to more into diet colas, because the diet colas are suddenly going to be cheaper, which would be strange. And then you start getting the increased effects of all these artificial sweeteners, which would be kind of interesting.
Yes, the tax is targeted at Americans who are low income, African American, Hispanic, and children, which the legislation calls priority populations due to high rates of obesity and diabetes.
See, these taxes are insidious because they sort of work either way. So about the beginning of I can't remember when it was, maybe it's been 2008 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but the Obama administration got through a tax on cigars and loose leaf tobacco or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right at the beginning of his administration, and they also banned certain flavored tobaccos, which was they had to rebrand cloves. I remember that because there was a ban on cloves, and you couldn't have cherry or vanilla tobacco or something like that because they were basically accusing them of marketing that to kids.
And when that happened, when the cigar tax came down, I decided I was going to quit smoking cigars because I wasn't going to pay. I understand that money's fungible, and even though they say the money's going to go to education, that doesn't mean the money's going to go to education. It just means that the money from the tax will go to education. The money that would have gone to education will now go to bullets to kill people in foreign countries. So I can't, in good conscience, smoke my cigars that are going to buy bullets to kill people.
Right.
And I stopped. But that was really sort of the purpose of the tax to some extent anyway, because either way they win. Oh, now you've stopped doing the bad thing we don't like. So it's this back and forth thing. Don't worry, it's coming to e-cigarettes too.
Well, what's kind of interesting, I think New Hampshire actually has laws that make it legal to grow tobacco for personal use.
I think that's fine, but it's about the hardest thing to grow. I mean, so yes, growing it's easy. It's curing it and drying it, which is really quite a chore. It's a challenge.
Well, I know someone who's in the area who is going to be attempting to take up that challenge, so it'd be interesting to see.
I am
how
very
it
interested in
fares.
hearing about it.
Yeah.
You want to know something interesting about the revenue of this tax is going to be going to Obamacare.
Well, of course it is.
Really?
It's got to go through
Yep.
something good.
Wow.
It's going to the fund cut that was done by
Well,
Congress.
This is, of course, the natural progression of things. Once you put in a law that
Right.
says we all have to pay for each other's health care, and essentially that's what it says, when it doesn't matter whether it's a private organizations that are paying for health care or whether it's a single-payer government organization doing it. Once you force everyone to get into the insurance system, then you're going to have everybody caring about what else everybody else does,
Right.
because it drives up everybody else's rates.
Right.
Now, what
and
you
that's
eat,
what a lot of people want. A lot
That's
of these
what they
liberals,
want.
that's what they want.
huge social pressure to stop doing the things that we think are bad. Now, consider for a second that we don't know. When I was growing up, margarine was a good thing to eat and eggs were a bad thing to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that.
Now, eggs are a good thing to eat and margarine's a terrible thing to eat.
Right.
And
Back the way it used to be.
somewhere in the 90s, there was the eat all the carbs you want, just don't eat any, not trans fats, saturated fats.
Well, they
Meat.
need people to be unhealthy so that they can charge them to try and make them healthy again and spend lots and lots of money reversing the health trends that they, convinced people to make themselves ridiculously unhealthy with.
Well, I don't know what their reasoning behind this is. I would suspect that they are incompetent boobs that do not understand the world around them, and that diets tend to be fad oriented, not science oriented.
Right.
And I don't think we have yet figured out what the most scientifically good diet is for human beings. But I do think that we're best keeping the government out of it.
I completely agree. I definitely think we need to keep the government out of all healthcare as much as possible. If you want to talk to us about healthcare, give us a call, 855-450-FREE. This is the Sunday edition of Free Talk Live. Soda taxes. And, well, I mean, is it really a soda tax or is it more of a sugar tax?
It appears to be, well, I mean, it's a sweetener tax. So
Yes.
sweeteners
Is it all
include...
sweeteners or is it just sugar? Is it caloric sweeteners? Because it didn't seem like they were going to be taxing non-caloric, like aspartame, Splenda, that kind
It's
of
the
stuff.
quantity by measurement as far as size measurement, I guess weight. Well, teaspoon is a size measurement. So,
Right.
cubic
But
centimeter.
is it sweeteners in general? Is it all sweeteners?
It says it's the Sugar Sweetened Beverages Tax Act,
sugar
also
sweetened.
known as the SWEET Act.
Right, but it has to be sugar sweetened.
Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Great.
Oh, I'm gonna love watching the sugar farmers go nuts on this one. That's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, I
'Cause
can't imagine they're
now
gonna go
it's
for that.
specifically a farmer thing. That's
Yes.
specifically.
You hate farmers. Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. So I mean, is that all we have to say about that? I mean, is there anything else that we want to talk about on the sugar tax? Or
Well, we've already talked that it's going to be targeted at Americans who are low income, also African.
They actually say that?
Yeah, it says right here in the article. The tax is targeted at Americans who are low income, African American, Hispanic, and children, which the legislation calls priority populations due to higher rates of obesity and diabetes. Revenue.
This is amazing. So first they go after the farmers and the sugarcane farmers,
right?
and of course high fructose corn syrup. Wait a second, high fructose corn syrup, is that a sugar? Because most sodas are sweetened with that. And
Oh, you got a really good point there.
so I'm not even sure what we're talking about at this point.
Oh, you get a really good point there, because actually I've seen some sodas lately have been trying to go back to actual sugar.
Or sucralose or anything other than high fructose corn syrup. It just
Sucralose, though, is not a high caloric sugar. I mean,
you're correct. It
but
is
sucralose is based off of sugar, so that's kind of interesting.
It says here that it's per teaspoon of caloric sweetener. So sucralose, yes, is 0 calories, but sugar is not. High fructose corn syrup is not.
Caloric sweetener. Okay.
Right.
Very interesting.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to go after the corn farmers, the sugarcane farmers, and poor people. They really
Right.
just lay it right out, and specifically African Americans.
Right.
Nice.
It's intended to discourage excessive consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages by increasing the price. So that $2.50 soda that you pay at Applebee's probably going to go up to
I
what,
wish we could
$2.75?
start taxing these lawmakers by the word. I think we really need to encourage them to stop passing excessive laws. Yeah, they really seem to be addicted to these high word count laws that no one wants to read, including themselves.
I think that there's, well, if we're going to, bring out government solutions for this, I think that it really comes down to the Constitution's, what I consider the main flaw of the Constitution. The main flaw of the Constitution is that you have a panel of judges, the Supreme Court, that decide on the veracity of something at the end. Now, this is what they call appellate jurisdiction. It wasn't actually specifically stated in the Constitution, but it's there, and the Supreme Court exists. The fact is, though, that if somebody's fined if somebody's being taxed, it's essentially a fine. So the fact is that you have to. I think the Supreme Court should have to be a 9-0 ruling. Shouldn't it be a unanimous vote of the highest legal minds in the land, rather than a situation where it's a 5-4 split? Why is it democratic when we're talking about the law? When I'm being convicted of something, at least from a criminal standpoint, it's 9-0, or at least the jury has to agree unanimously. Why shouldn't the best legal minds in America, as we should believe, why shouldn't they have to unanimously decide that something is constitutional for it to be constitutional?
But Democrats have also, this isn't the first time that they've tried to do some sort of restriction on soda.
Oh, this isn't going anywhere.
No, it's not. I mean, California proposed adding a warning label to soda. A penny per ounce tax was voted down in Chicago. And then also former New York City Michael Bloomberg tried to get large sodas banned, and that didn't fall through. So, I mean, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. But yeah, they're trying to attack soda and other sweeteners as trying a way to cut down on obesity, because obviously obesity is a huge problem.
I think that they need to do what they were very successful. I don't mean Democrats, but people politically were successful in getting kids to stop smoking cigarettes. They made it not cool to smoke cigarettes. I can say that it was still in the late 80s. There was a little bit of cool factor to smoking cigarettes. Now, I don't think there is.
I don't know. I know a ton of kids who grew up, started smoking, and especially started picking up and going to the hookah bars. The hookah bars became a big thing.
A hookah bar, but hookahs aren't really addictive in the same way. You're not talking about cigarettes.
Still tobacco smoke, and I think it probably leverages into wanting more different forms of tobacco smoke.
Well, okay. I'm hookah bars. I'm going to put in a different category, but fine. I mean, the cigarettes themselves are designed and they have additives to make it even more addictive for you. And I think that it's insidious. And so, plus, you generally don't see somebody carrying around a hookah hitting that thing all day, whereas cigarettes are intended for you to be very, very convenient for you.
Right.
So if they can make sugar not as cool as it used to be, they might have some success around it. That's what I think they need to do.
They're probably going to make an e-cigarette that delivers sugar directly into your lungs. Is probably the next thing that they'll do.
Well,
some scientists will figure it out.
So many restaurants have already put the amount of calories per every drink or every food item. I mean, I guess that's not doing what it's supposed to do, because they're still imposing some sort of,
Yeah, I don't think people. Yes, it's clearly not working. I don't know what one has to do. I do think that we have a real problem in this country with simple sugars and the consumption thereof. But I wouldn't for a second tell somebody they couldn't do it. I just think that
Right.
people need to be educated. I think they need to be clear on it. And I don't think the average person is educated on the dangers of what they eat, and I don't think they care.
I wonder, it seems like a lot of this stuff, we were mentioning it, how it kind of seems cyclical, where you switch from the eggs and the margarine being, or one being healthy, the other one not being healthy, and then it switches to the other, completely reverses where the one is healthy and then the other one's not healthy, and then it switched back, right? So what I'm wondering is, now we kind of have the era of the internet. Is this stuff ever going to switch back again? Are we going to ever get that reversal again, or are people finally going to figure out what's actually correct and keep that in their mind for a long time now? Is the correct information going to stick around this time?
It's a good question. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.